All right, class, here we are with our Excel 11 and 12 exercise that I created. I've got the file open. You'll notice that the instructions are in the instructions tab and you can go through them there. And then the data is here. So I'm going to go through the instructions. I've got them printed out in front of me for ease. So the first thing we need to do is apply heading style 1 to cell A1. All right, so home, cell styles, heading 1. And then we need to merge A1 across A1 to G1. So I'm going to do that. So just a little formatting stuff. Done this before. So that's it for step 1. Step 2, we're going to apply heading style 2 to cell A3. So that's where it says students. So I'm going to go cell styles, heading style 2. And that's it for step 2. And then step 3, we're going to insert 3 columns between last name and street address. All right, so that's in between here. So 1, 2, 3. So we're done step 3. Step 4, enter the column titles of first name, last name, and combined in C4, D4, E4. All right, so first name, last name, and combined. Okay, that's it for step 4. Step 5, we are going to type proper case into cell C3 and then merge that across. Now we're just getting a little bit of formatting stuff sorted out, so we're going to merge it across the top of first name, last name combined. We'll do that, and then we have to apply heading style 3 to C3, so I'll do that here. Okay. And then lastly, for our formatting, step 6, we're going to apply the 60% dash accent 1 cell style to all the headings in row 4. So that goes all the way across here. Cell styles, 60% accent 1. Okay, so now we have our sheet looking as we wish. Now we're going to actually get into some new learning stuff. So this is our class list, as you can see from the title, and we want each student's name to be in proper case in our class list. So you can see in first name, last name, everything's lowercase. So if we want to have it where it capitalizes the first letter in the name, we can use the proper formula to do that. So we're going to use the proper function in C5, which is right here. So proper. And we're going to use that to modify the student's first name in A5 into the proper case. So A5, and then you just close the parentheses and we'll hit enter and see if it worked. And it did. You can see that that person's first name is now capitalized. And we want to copy that down all the way to the bottom of the column. There we go. Works all the way through. So that's it for step 7. Step 8, we want to have each student's last name be in uppercase. So use the upper formula in D5 to modify the student's last name in B5 into uppercase. All right, so we'll use upper, and we want to do it on the last name, which is here. Close our parentheses and hit enter, and there we go. So now it's in complete uppercase, and then we need to fill this down the column. Okay, that's it for step 8. Step 9, we want to include a column with each student's name, with their last name first, followed by their first name. So we're going to use the, oh, I have an extra E on here, concat function. I'll update that before I post it for you. Combine the students' names in the combined column using the format of last name, comma, first, and then fill the formula down the column after. Okay, so let's do that. So we're going to use concat. You can also use concatenate. They both do the same thing. And here you can click on different cells and put commas in between, and the formula just slaps them together into one item. So we want our format to be last name. So I'm going to pull the last name first and then hit a comma. Then we want to have a comma and a space in between. So I'm going to put parentheses, because if I'm starting to type things, I need parentheses in between. So parentheses, then my comma, then my space that I want to have happen after the last name, and closing quotes, and then a comma to get on to my next part, and then I want their first name. So it's last name, and then the comma to signify the next part. Then we want a comma with a space, and then we want the first name. So if I hit my closing parentheses and hit enter, we'll see if it worked. And we got to resize our columns so they fit. And you can see that now we have it where it's the last name, comma, first name. I can fill that down our column and then resize again to make sure everybody's names show. All right, so that's it for step 9. Step 10. So the database where the student list was extracted put all the information of the students' addresses in the same cell rather than splitting it out into sections. So you can see the street address, it includes the street, the city, province, and their postal code all in one. So we're going to select the range F5 to 24, which is just this whole column with all the addresses. And we're going to use the text to columns feature in Excel to split the address into their street address, city, and then province/postal code after that. To do that, we're going to use comma as a delimiter because you can see in between the street address, there's a comma, and then after the city, there's a comma, and then so we can tell Excel, hey, break it up based on where the commas are. So to do that, go to the Data tab and choose Text to Columns. Oh, mine went off the page. Here we go. So we're choosing delimited, which essentially means, is there something that signifies where you want something to be bumped into the next column? Fixed width, you can do it based on how much distance you want. I've never used that. Delimited seems to work just fine. So I'm going to hit next. And then you have to choose what it's delimited by. So you can, if there's some other one you want to use, you can put it in the other box. But we don't want tabs, we want commas. And you can see as we click it, it shows you a little preview of how it's going to be split. So we've got our street name, city, and then the postal code and the province there. So when you're good with that, you can hit next. And this is where you get to choose how to format the columns that are being put out. So as you click on each one, you get a few options here. So how do you want it formatted, general text, or you can choose not to import it at all and it'll say skip column. We're just going to use general. You also get to choose the destination for each one. So we want the street address to stay in F. And then I think it bumps from there after. So it won't, it'll start there and then move in the columns thereafter. So this one would go into G and this one would go into H. So if you're happy with what you have here and what this looks like, you can hit finish. And there we go. We've got street address here, city here, and the province and postal code there. So we just need to resize our column so it fits properly like that. So that's it for step 10. So now because there was no comma between the province and the postal code, we couldn't use the same text to columns process to split that out. But we can run it again because they have a space in between, and we can use that space as our delimiter in our splitting process. So we're going to highlight this one, use our text to columns. It's delimited, right, because it's got a space in between. Hit next, and we want space. And you can see here, so there's a bit of an issue because there was a space before our province name. It thinks there's an extra column here. We can deal with that on the next page. So hit next. So there's a column here that's blank. We're going to choose do not import because we don't want a blank one in there. That doesn't make sense. And then we've got a column with QC and a column with the province, and then a column with postal code. As we click through, general format is fine for both. I'll hit finish, and there we go. We've got our provinces split and then our postal codes after that. Awesome. And then we can tighten up our columns there to resize. Next thing we're going to do is get into some more text functions. So we want our students to have a specific student code in our list. So the student code is the student's initials followed by a dash, their province followed by a dash, and then finally the last 3 letters of their postal code. So the code should be formatted in the lower case, oh, spelling mistake, I'll fix that. Case format using right, left, concat, and lower functions to build the student code. All right, so let's build this. So we want this to all be in lowercase, so I'm going to choose the lower formula first and then build my formula within that. So the first thing that we want is the student's initials. So for example, this person would be A and S. So I have to pull the A and the S out of these cells. So to do that, I'm going to use, first I'm going to deal with the first name. So I'm going to do left. And what this does is it starts pulls whatever is in the leftmost area of that word or string, if it's more than one word, and returns whatever's there. So here we're going to pick our cell, and that's where it's going to pull it from. And then you hit comma and you say, okay, counting from the left, how many characters do you want to pull? Well, I don't want the whole thing. I don't want AL, I just want A. So I just put 1, because I want the first one that you find when you start counting from the left. So that's it there. Oh, and I forgot one thing. I need to put my concat in there first because I'm slamming stuff together. And then I'll put, yeah, and that looks good. So we're good with that one. Or I should have this outside. Let's do that. Outside. There we go. That's better. Okay, so now I have the A pulling. The next thing I want to do is have the S pulling. So I'm going to do another left on the last name. I want only the first letter as you work from left. So I hit 1, and there we go. So we have their initials, then it's supposed to be followed by a dash. So if I want my dash, I need to put that in quotes because I'm typing something in. Put that in quotes, there's my dash. The next thing we want to have is their province. So I can just click on the province code here. That's good. Don't have to modify that at all. It is as it is. And then the next thing we want is the last 3 letters of their postal code. So postal code, if I want the last 3 letters, I have to start working from the right backwards. So I'm going to choose right. Click on the cell, and I want the last 3 letters. So I want the 4, the N, and the 5. So I'm going to choose 3. And there we are there. So I think that is it. Oh, we have to have a dash in between our province and our postal code. So I need to put our dash in here. There we go. So if now I just need to close my formula. So I'll close the concat formula and close the lower formula. It's a complicated looking thing, but let's see if it worked properly. All right, so what do I have? It's all in lowercase, so that worked. I have the initials, A, S. I have the province, QC, and then I have the 5 and 4 as the last digits of the postal code. Perfect, so I can fill that down. And that's my make-believe student code. Cool, so that's it for step 12. Step 13, we want to change the document theme to organic. All right, so we're going to, just like we did with Word, we can change our theme in the page layout area, and we have themes here. So we want to choose organic, which is here, so it makes things green. And then we want to use a marquee color. So we have colors here, and we want marquee, which is down here near the bottom. And that gets it a nice blue, and it changes our fonts, which is fine. So that's it for step 13. Step 14, you find that Elise Spencer is in the process of moving. Put a comment onto cell A5 noting, please ask the student for updated address. Okay, so we're going to put a comment on A5, that's here. And to do a comment, you can right click and choose insert comment, or you can go to the review tab and choose new comment. Both do the same thing. So I'll do that, and I've got to write in there, please ask student for updated address. All right. So now we have a comment. Turn that off for a second. So you can see now that we have a comment, we have a red little triangle in the top corner. If you hover over the cell, your comment will show up. There we go. Step 15, show all comments so they're visible. So if you're on the review tab, you can hit show all comments, and that makes them pop up and be visible at all times, whether or not you're highlighting the cell or hovering over the cell at the time. If you have show all comments on, you can click on it. You can make this bigger. You can edit the text. You can move it around if you click on the outside. So for example, I'll put this up here so I don't cover over some of the data. So that's all the things you can do with your comments. So that's step 15. Step 16, like we got used to with, I'm going to change the size of this because it's on 2 lines. There we go. We're going to, like we did with Word, we're going to update the document properties. So to do that, we go to the File menu, and we got Properties here, and we can click on that to get to Advanced Properties. So we're told what we want to fill out here. We want to have a title of student list winter 2020. We want to author, you put in your own name. I'm going to put in my own name. And then company, we're going to put in Okanagan College. Perfect. So we'll hit OK there. You can see that's updated some stuff there. Author name is in there now. Cool, cool. Go back, get to our sheet. That's it for step 16. Step 17, we're going to insert a background using a Bing search. So to have a background, go to page layout, click on background. And in the Bing search, we're going to search for school background. Do that and see what we find. All right, there's lots of options. It doesn't matter what you choose. My preference is one that is lighter in color because then it doesn't mess up my data so much. Let's just choose this guy. Why not? Okay, we have a background. Makes my sheet look bad, but one thing that it's not in the instructions, but one thing you can do is if you highlight your data and then use a cell fill color of white, it'll block out whatever the background is and you have all your data showing properly. So that's something that you can do to make your background look, or your data still look good when you choose your background. So that's it, step 17. Step 18, we're going to modify the heading 1 cell style to be 20 point font, and then heading style 2 to be 16 point font. All right, so I'm just going to move this out of the way here so we can see our headings. So in our cell styles menu, when you pop it up, you can right click on the headings you want to change. So I want to change this one, right click on this, hit modify, and here you can click on format to get to how it actually looks. And in the font tab is where the size is. So I can bump that size up to 20 here. I'll hit OK and OK. And you can see it bumped up the one that had heading style 1 on it. Then we want to modify heading style 2 to be 16 point font. So same process, heading styles, right click on number 2, modify, format, and then have that be 16. Hit OK and OK. And you can see the students one increased in size. So that's it for 18. The next thing you want to do is check your document for errors. So to do that, you can go to the File menu and check for issues here and Inspect Workbook. So we're going to inspect the document and see if there's any issues with it. So it says make sure that you save changes. Do you want to save changes first? Sure. And gives you options of what you want to check for. Let's just check for everything. Hit inspect. Okay, so it found comments. Here you can remove them all. We don't want to. It has document properties. Do we want to remove them? No, we put them on purpose, and everything else looks fine. So there's no issues that I found here. So I'm just going to hit close, but sometimes you might find things that are not awesome that you want to get rid of. Okay, so for example, if you've reviewed a document of someone else, you've left a bunch of comments and that person has made all the changes, they might want to remove all the comments before they send it on to a client. So there's not all these review comments that don't belong in there. Okay, so that's it for step 19. Step 20, we're going to do a save as and save this as a different file format. So to do that, we're going to save it as a macro-enabled workbook. We're not actually going to make macros, but we're going to learn how to save as a different format. So File, you can choose Save As, and I'm going to save it in this folder. So I'll click on that folder, and when I get this window, in the drop-down below the file name, I can choose a whole lot of different formats to use, CSV, templates, web pages, blah, blah, blah. I want Excel macro enabled workbook. So I'm going to choose that. You can see it's XLSM as the file format, and I'll hit save. All right, so now you would be able to have macros in your workbook. So there we are. We are done our Excel 11 and 12 exercise, our last one of Excel 2. Congratulations.